Healing is a defining factor of Skyblock combat, and without utilizing it well, most bosses are incredibly hard to beat, and nearly impossible to outdamage. So in Skyblock, there are 3 different types of healing: Absorption, Natural Regen, and Healing items. Absorption health, of course, comes from Wither Shield, then Natural Regen happens every couple ticks, and with the Vampire Dentist Relic is basically doubled with your melee attacks, and yet again is increased generally through the health regen stat. And finally, we have healing items. These mainly include the Florid Zombie Sword and the Wand of Atonement. But all of these items and all of these healing methods are abysmally terrible compared to the true best healing item there is. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so right before we begin, I just wanted to mention I will be uploading a ton more this month because I need to hit 2.5k by the end of the year, because if I do, I kind of made like a deal that I would get my friends G-Drag. So yeah, please like and subscribe. It just means I'll be making better content as a whole. Yeah, back to your video. On May 31st, 2021, the Enderman Slayer update was added along with a ton of insane items, such as the Terminator and Juju shortbow. But there was probably another small item that you didn't see, and that was the Gloomlock Grimoire. And if you don't know what it does, it basically requires you to use 300 overflow mana on right click to heal 40% of all of your health. And that is absolutely broken. And the only thing that actually balances it off is of course the 8% debuff of damage for the next 40 seconds. And that does stack up, which is probably why you shouldn't spam it. You also may find that you do need overflow mana for it, but it already has like a left click ability where you get 600 overflow mana. But that does cost a bit of slow flow and also a ton of your health. But then, what makes this actually good if it takes health from you? Well, you should probably know already about the Enderman Slayer like accessories and like the the slow flow supercell. And what that is it's from Enderman Slayer 7, but at Enderman Slayer about 5 or something, you've got the slow flow battery. And what that does is every time you leave combat, you get yourself either 400 or 600 overflow mana. And what that means is that every time you basically jump backwards, you leave combat. And every time you jump backwards, it means you get your mana back. So all in all, you can spam this, if you do spam it, twice every time you just jump backwards. And that's absolutely broken. No matter what you're doing, you can just spam it and you'll heal a ton. But the issue is, of course, that debuff, so you don't want to be doing this during anything that you actually have to do damage for. So, yeah, just basically this item can pretty much make you invincible without actually using your actual mana pool. And I mean, it's not like the Wither Cloak or like the Wand of Atonement, which you need to, it just drains your mana so quickly, because this one just regens so quickly. If you just jump backwards, you get yourself your overflow mana back. And it is absolutely incredible. So you probably are wondering how this item is any bit useful if it takes a ton of damage from you, and I mean, it just makes you like unable to actually do anything to any mobs you're fighting. Well, there's a ton of ways this can be a lot better than the Hyperion's healing, and well, even though the Hyperion does give you a bit of like absorption health, the absorption health has like a cooldown, like the usages has a cooldown, and it takes a while for you to actually heal that damage, and it's really just like a shield that just protects you from damage. Meanwhile, the Gloomlock, it just makes you invincible, really. But all in all, these two, they've got quite a difference in them, so I really shouldn't be comparing them. But the Gloomlock is all in all just for those bosses, such as F7 Lava, or like probably dropships, or anything that does like a ton of true damage during anything. Either that, or you could be doing Slayers, and you become a really, really low, and it's probably like your last source of like salvation when you're like actually doing some sort of boss, and you're nearly done with it. So let's say you get into tier 4 Void Glooms, or like you get really low when you're fighting a mob. So let's say you're fighting this Void Gloom, like a Voidling Extremist, and you start taking a ton of damage, and I mean, you're about to kill it or something, but then like, why isn't it doing damage? Like, you're about to kill it, but then, oh, yeah, there you go, you got your health back, and really, that didn't really debuff your damage too much, did it? I was doing about, let's say, okay, that's quite a debuff, but I mean, you still survived that and you actually killed the boss. So in many situations when you're like starting to do like a Slayer boss or starting to do some sort of boss and you don't know how to do it perfectly well yet, and you're about to kill it, but then you just need that a little bit more so you can actually survive the full boss fight. That's when the Gloomlock actually comes into clutch, because it is absolutely broken for those kinds of things, and you are not dying from that. In fact, I only spammed that, well, I didn't spam it, I just used it once, and as you saw, that was a huge amount of health. And that's basically why it's better than a hype in a lot of situations, but really, they shouldn't really be comparable, because this is just like the Wither Cloak, but it doesn't actually take that much mana. So really, all in all, this item is incredibly good for its 4 mil price, and I mean, that's probably the best feature of it, like seeing that all the other healing items are at least above 7 mil with alt-wise 5, and this literally doesn't even cost any mana apart from your overflow, and that's just absolutely incredible if you think about it, because it's just so versatile then, and you don't have to worry about running out of mana, because all you need to do is just like jump backwards, and really all you need, like, you basically just got your charges back. It's so much better than Florid, because Florid has charges and you can't really spam them. It's kind of better than the Wand of Atonement, because it's not as incredibly slow as the Wand of Atonement is now, since everyone has so much health, and this one, since it like scales with like how much health you have, it doesn't matter if you're using a tank setup, it doesn't matter what sort of setup you're using, you'll always heal the same amount, and it's just incredible due to this fact. And really, in combination with everything else, it means that you can use it during like most big boss fights such as Kudra, and really, if you're not doing any damage, you should just be using this if you're really low, such as if you're doing the builds during Kudra, you get low, use your Gloomlock. If you're like doing like terminals in F7 and you don't want to use too much mana, well, then use the Gloomlock. Just if you're doing a Slayer, you're about to finish it, or there's like some sort of like thing that's about to do like a huge amount of damage to you, as long as it's like not an insta-kill, well, Gloomlock, it's just really, really useful, and it's so cheap. Even, yeah, it's just incredibly cheap, so yeah, just get one. It's really, really good. And that's basically the video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I guess I'll be seeing you in the next one.